التمديد مرفوض.
أغادر اليوم وأنا مرتاح الضمير.
Good afternoon. It is Thursday, April 4th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. After Najib Miati's resignation, future MP Tamam Salam travels to Saudi in the strongest sign yet that he is the coalition's candidate for next Prime Minister. The Progressive Socialist Party candidates submit their request to run for June's parliamentary elections based on the 1960 law. And Syrian state media criticizes Jordan for hosting U.S.-backed training for Syrian rebels seeking to topple President Assad, warning that Amman risks falling into the volcanic crater of Syria's conflict. Binding consultations for naming a Prime Minister designate are likely to result in nearly 60 MPs in favor of the March 14 alliance candidate. MP Tamam Salam held talks with the future movement leader Saad Hariri in the strongest sign yet that he is the coalition's candidate. Neither the March 14 opposition coalition nor the March 8 majority alliance have officially announced their nominees. They are set to hold separate last-minute meetings to agree on their candidates. The opposition plans to announce the name of its candidate following a large-scale meeting at the Centre House tonight. The binding consultations said by President Michel Sleiman with parliamentary blocs and independent MPs will be held on Friday and Saturday at the Babda Palace. Sleiman will later task the nominee who has received the majority support with forming the new government. Progressive Socialist Party candidates have submitted their request to run for June's parliamentary elections based on the 1960 law. The 7 candidates did not include Caretaker Transport and Public Works Minister Ghazi Aridi, who is currently representing the party as a lawmaker. These candidates were submitted in accordance with the party's decision to adhere to the Constitution and to the electoral law currently in place, according to PSP official Nashat Hassanieh. Now, after submitting the candidacies at the Interior Ministry in the Beirut neighborhood of Sanaya, Hassanieh said and added that the stance is in agreement with that of the president, who stresses the need to hold elections on time in order to avoid a dangerous political vacuum. Hassanieh also said that Aridi does not want to run for the round of elections, adding that the party could submit more candidacies as time goes by. Washington is urging both the Syrian regime and rebels to respect Lebanon's sovereignty after a Syrian helicopter bombed a smuggling route in a remote area near the Bekaa border town of Arsail on Wednesday. We call on all parties in the Syrian conflict to respect the sovereignty of Lebanon, U.S. State Department spokesperson Victoria Nuland told reporters during a daily press briefing. In response to a certain question, Nuland said that if the strike is in fact confirmed by the Lebanese side, it would represent the latest and most egregious violation of Lebanon's sovereignty, coming just on the heels of the regime's March rocket attacks into the border areas of Al-Qasr, Wadi al-Khayl. This all comes after a Syrian helicopter gunship fired 2 missiles on Wednesday that hit a remote region known as Siraj al-Qaisar on the outskirts of Arsail and only 1 kilometer away from a Lebanese army checkpoint. Members of the Migdad family blocked a highway in Beirut and urged the judiciary to speed up the trials of their kin accused of being involved in the spate of kidnappings back in 2012. Some 100 members of the Migdad clan took part in Thursday morning protests blocking the Hadi Nasrallah highway in Beirut's southern suburbs. In August of 2012, the Migdad so-called military wing claimed responsibility for the kidnapping of over 20 Syrians and a Turkish businessman in retaliation for the abduction of one of their kinsmen, Hassan Migdad, by the Free Syrian Army in Syria. The Migdads eventually released all of their captives under pressure from the Lebanese army. 8 members of the Migdad clan, including its head, Maher Migdad, and 2 Syrian nationals were arrested in separate house raids by the Lebanese army in September and October of last year. Syrian state media is sharply criticizing Jordan for hosting U.S.-backed training of Syrian rebels seeking to topple President Bashar al-Assad, warning Amman that it risks falling into the volcanic crater of Syria's conflict. The stern warning, issued by state radio and in a front-page editorial in the daily Al Thawra, the mouthpiece of the Syrian government, will likely aggravate Jordan's security fears over the civil war in its northern neighbor. Jordan worries that Syria could use chemical weapons against it, or that secret operatives linked to the Assad regime could carry out deadly attacks in the U.S. ally kingdom. U.S. and other Western and Arab officials say Jordan is hosting training camps for Syrian rebels. Amman has publicly denied it is hosting such efforts. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas says the freeing of prisoners held by Israel is a priority for the leadership in the West Bank. The speech comes after thousands of West Bank Palestinians lined the streets for the funeral of Maysara Abu Hamna, a prisoner who had served 10 years of a life sentence for attempted murder and died in an Israeli hospital after being diagnosed with throat cancer. The Palestinian leadership has accused Israel of medical negligence despite moves by the prison service to secure his early release on compassionate grounds. Abbas said that in light of the achievements in the United Nations, a reference to upgraded Palestinian status last year, it angered Israel. The leadership would go to the ends of the earth to protect their prisoners. Coming up next, the U.S. Embassy in Cairo briefly freezes its Twitter account after coming under fire from Egyptian leaders. The story and more when we return. Welcome back. Israeli troops have shot dead 2 Palestinian youth in the occupied West Bank, according to medical officials, as confrontations enter a third day. The Israeli army said troops fired on Palestinians who threw firebombs after dark at a guard post near Tulkarm in the northern West Bank. One body was swiftly recovered and a second was found in the early hours of this morning. Palestinian officials named the dead men as Amr Nasser, 17 years of age, and Najib al-Besi, who is 18. The army said it was investigating the incident, which left at least one other Palestinian wounded. Tensions have risen rapidly in the West Bank and Gaza Strip following the death from cancer on Tuesday of Maysara Abu Hamna, who was 64 and who was serving a life sentence in an Israeli jail. Palestinians accuse Israel of withholding care from the man and failing to release him after diagnosing that his illness was terminal. Israel says it followed normal procedures. The U.S. Embassy in Cairo briefly froze its Twitter account after coming under fire from Egyptian leaders for tweeting a link to a United States comedy show mocking President Mohamed Morsi. The embassy, which is a vociferous user of Twitter, shut down the account and deleted the tweet, which had linked to a clip by popular U.S. funny man Jon Stewart denouncing the arrest of Egyptian satirist Bassem Youssef. Youssef, dubbed Egypt's Stewart, is on bail, facing accusations of insulting Morsi and Islam, and is under investigation for what they are claiming is a threat to public security. In his Monday night show on Comedy Central, Stewart delivered a wisecracking monologue mocking Morsi for cracking down on dissent, pointing out that the former senior Muslim Brotherhood figure was swept to power in the revolution that ousted longtime dictator Hosni Mubarak. China has found 2 more cases of a new strain of bird flu, and one of the victims has died, state media said on Wednesday, bringing to 9 the number of confirmed human infections from the previously unknown flu type. A 30-year-old cook fell ill early last month while working in the province of Jiangsu, where 5 of the other cases were found. He died in hospital in Hangzhou City on March 27th, according to Xinhua News Agency. Samples tested positive on Wednesday for the new bird flu strain H7N9. The second patient, also in Hangzhou, is a 67-year-old who is having treatment. Xinhua said no connection between the 2 cases had been discovered, and no one in close contact with either patient had developed any flu-like symptoms. The World Health Organization said it was following the event closely and was in contact with Chinese authorities, which it said were actively investigating the cases amid heightened disease surveillance.
We need to know, how are these people getting infected? Where are they getting it from? We need to know what's the denominator? How many people out there in China are infected right now with this virus harmlessly or with very mild illness? And third, we need to know, what species did this come from? Did it come from birds? Did it come from those dead pigs? Did it come from other animals of some kind? Until we have those 3 big questions answered, we have no capacity to speculate about the probability that this will become the next great pandemic.
I mean, this is a very unique event. H7N9 had not been known previously to infect human beings. We'd seen it before only in birds. So for this virus suddenly to turn up in humans is a great cause for concern.
Now for news around the world in brief. Australia's Prime Minister Julia Gillard has underlined the importance of Canberra's relationship with Beijing ahead of a high-level delegation visit to discuss regional issues, and it will begin a 5-day visit to China on Friday, underlining the strength of the relationship between the two countries. Speaking in Sydney ahead of her trip, Ms. Gillard said the visit reflects the importance of a rapidly evolving relationship with China and a high-level political oversight of the relationship between the two. The United States sees a real and clear danger from North Korea, given its nuclear and missile capabilities and bellicose rhetoric, according to U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel. The United States, which has responded to threats of war from the rogue nation by deploying 2 Navy warships to the Western Pacific, is seeking to reassure allies in Seoul and Tokyo of American military capabilities to respond to any moves by Pyongyang. An international pop star, Madonna, visits an orphanage in Malawi in southern Africa, home of her 2 adopted children. Madonna, who is 54, met with children at the Home for Hope orphanage in Mshingi town near the Zambian border. The pop star visit comes on the same day as the announcement that she was selling an abstract painting by French artist Fernand Léger worth up to $7 million to raise funds for girls' education projects. United States President Barack Obama is pushing Congress to tighten gun control legislation while on a visit to Denver, Colorado. The president said that Colorado's recent steps to tighten its gun law showed that it is possible to require background checks for all gun buyers without infringing on gun ownership rights.
I believe there doesn't have to be a conflict in reconciling these realities. There doesn't have to be a conflict between protecting our citizens and protecting our Second Amendment rights. And I think that Colorado has shown that practical progress is possible thanks to the leadership of Governor Hickenlooper and some of the state legislators who are here today. You know, when I was talking to Steve, he mentioned that, Aurora's very much a purple city. It's got a majority Republican city council. A majority of its state legislators are Democrat. But they came together understanding that out of this tragedy there had to be something that made sense. And so we've seen enacted tougher background checks that won't infringe on the rights of responsible gun owners, but will help keep guns out of the hands of dangerous people. And Diana DeGette.
Boy pining for home, a woman grieving for her son, another caring for her sick father. These are all tales of love and longing that are all part of a London film festival. The only common feature is that all the films are made by Arab women directors. The Bird's Eye View Festival, a London film event that celebrates the works of women, has this year put the spotlight on the Arab region. Being at a festival focusing on Arab women directors was a novelty for some filmmakers taking part in the event. One of them said the selection of films will allow the audience a glimpse of a region that many people know only from news reports. Film fans say they could not wait to see what the festival unveils.
A lot of Arab film festivals. I've been to a lot of women's film festivals, but I've never been to an Arab women film festival. So it's really nice because there's also a lot of women here who are not necessarily showing films in the festival, but that have been brought over to be part of the the whole activities. And it's really great. So I focused on 1967, which is also a personally important year for my family because they are Palestinians from Bethlehem, and it was the year that Bethlehem was occupied and everything changed. It changed the whole landscape of our family. Those who were outside were stuck outside. Those who were inside lived under military occupation. And it's just, and all my life I kept hearing about 1967, how things were before, after. It was the marker that marked, it was, everything was the life before 67 and life after 67.
Of our bulletin for today, now for a reminder of our top stories. After Najib Miati's resignation, future MP Tamam Salam travels to Saudi in the strongest sign yet that he is the coalition's candidate for next prime minister. Progressive Socialist Party candidates submit the request to run for June's parliamentary elections based on the 1960 law. And Syrian state media criticizes Jordan for hosting U.S.-backed training of Syrian rebels seeking to topple Assad, warning that Amman risks falling into the volcanic crater of Syria's conflict. Those are your Thursday headlines. Live in Beirut, I'm Yumna Naufal, and I will see you again tomorrow for all your top stories. Have a good one.
التمديد مرفوض.
أغادر اليوم وأنا مرتاح الضمير